Egypt and the classical world cross-cultural encounters in antiquity. The creation of new cultural codes, the Ptolemaic queens and their syncretic processes with Isis, Hathor, and Aphrodite. Cleopatra Seventh. Cleopatra broke with the Ptolemaic tradition. The excavator also found the architrave or threshold of a monumental door, again made of red granite and of an estimated weight of 11 tons. According to Tzales, it may have once belonged to the tomb of Cleopatra Seventh, located in the temple's vicinity. The cavities of the threshold where the huge door rested have retained the brass supports and the lead fillings. Due to lack of space for a permanent exhibition, this architectural element was placed again on the seafloor. Because of the weight of these monolithic elements and their distance from the shore, the excavators assume that they had not been transferred and reused as buttress. Nor can these heavy pieces be considerably moved by the action of the waves. They considered them as being roughly in situ, marking the site of specific buildings. Plutarch recorded that Cleopatra Seventh had a tomb and monuments built surpassingly lofty and beautiful, which she had erected near the temple of Isis. Cleopatra broke with the Ptolemaic tradition of being buried in the Sema, where Alexander and the previous Ptolemies were laid to rest, and had her tomb built separately. Acrolochias was the least accessible part of the royal quarter, a fortified retreat for the Ptolemies, with very restricted access. The diminutive pylon tower, and the steps found underwater must have once been part of an Egyptian pylon, a typical architectural expression of Egyptian civilization from the New Kingdom onward, with precursors and roots reaching back to the Old Kingdom. But the pylon tower excavated in Alexandria is pretty much unique in its diminutive form. Together with a second tower, it would have once flanked a central portal or gate, to which the flight of steps, now exhibited near the tower, probably would have led. Like its monumental equivalents, the tower has a typical form with a rectangular foundation and sloping walls. Its front contains large vertical recesses for wooden flagstaffs, from which pennants flew above the level of the top of the pylon. Above each recess were two rectangular slots, which, in monumental pylons such as the one at Edfu, were meant as light slots. Laetitia Martsolf calculates a height of 1.8 meters for the gate of the diminutive pylon tower, which she thinks is too low, for it to be considered the monumental entrance to the temple. If the pylon and the steps are indeed parts of the Isis temple attested by Plutarch, it was a small temple, or at least a temple with a small pylon, whose towers were in my opinion just high enough to allow for a gate that one could walk through. Since it may have been a rather private temple for the queen, this is entirely possible. No real parallel for such a diminutive pylon is known so far, but a rather smallish pylon, at least in comparison to the monumental ones from the New Kingdom onward, is located in Karnak, On the east side of the courtyard between the 7th and the 8th pylons, a gate opens to the bark shrine of Thutmose III 1479 to 1425 BC, at the sacred lake. The small pylon comprises two towers, inscribed on their western face, and a gate in the middle, to which a flight of steps leads from the east. The towers are not preserved to their full height, but do retain their full width. The north one is 3.87 meters wide, the south one 3.75 meters, and the gate in the middle, 2.33 meters in sum. The pylon is 9.95 meters wide. At 1.54 meters, the pylon tower in Alexandria measures less than half that width, so the gate to the Isis temple would have been very small indeed, but wide enough for access.